Hi, welcome to Here to Honor. My name's Eva, and today we are going to talk about how to plan a funeral during COVID-19. This is a two-part video series, so be sure to watch the second video as well. In this video, we are going to look at the general categories to think through when you're planning a funeral, and within each category, we're going to break down some of the COVID-19 related safety concerns and questions to consider. We're going to look at 4 categories today: values, budget, people, and time. They are in no particular order, but we are going to start with values first. When we talk about values, we're talking about what's important to the person you're honoring and to you and your loved ones. So this could include religious, cultural, and/or family customs, traditions, or beliefs that are necessary and important to include in the funeral. This can also include the individual's last wishes or any advanced planning that they have communicated. If the individual did not communicate any last wishes or advanced planning, it's helpful to think about what they would want or what you think they would have liked. As you think through these values, consider if any of them might be limited or difficult to carry out right now due to any existing COVID-19 restrictions. If these values that are limited to carry out right now are really important to be part of the funeral service, then it's worth considering postponing or rescheduling the service to another time when there might be fewer restrictions and you might be more at liberty to incorporate these values without limitations. Now let's look at budget. Money's not always the most pleasant thing to talk about, but it is an important part of the funeral planning process. The average funeral in the United States can cost anywhere between $7,000 to $12,000, and the pricing can depend on if it's a burial or a cremation, on funeral service components, on embalming, casket, etc. So thinking about budget is really important when you're looking at funeral planning. Some basic questions to ask are, what is your budget for the funeral service, and how will you be paying for it? If you are working with a funeral home or another venue during COVID-19, it's important to find out what their cancellation policy is in case you have to cancel. Are you able to reschedule the funeral for a later date if you need to? And if there's a non-refundable deposit involved, is that transferable if you have to change to a later date? So those are some things to think about in the category of budget. Now let's look at people. When we're talking about people, we are talking about all the people involved. So that's thinking through who is helping with the planning, who's helping to make decisions, who will be part of the program, who will be attending as guests. So people is a very big category, and this category is very much impacted by COVID-19 restrictions. One question to ask is, who will be the coordinator? Who will serve as the point person pulling together all the details and logistics for the funeral service? It could be you, or it could be someone else, especially if it feels really overwhelming to think about coordinating while also going through grief at the same time. If there's nobody that you can think of who could coordinate and it's something that you would rather not do, there are also options to hire a vendor or someone else to do this for you. That's actually one of the services that we provide at Here to Honor. We do provide coordination services from running specific tasks to managing the whole funeral service itself. So that's an important question, is who will be the coordinator? Another important question to ask is who needs to be involved in making certain decisions, and how do you get that input into the process as early as possible? There are a lot of decisions to make and a lot of input that can be given during the funeral planning process. So it's important to consider what is the input that is important and who are the people that you really need to hear from to make those decisions. Who needs to be part of the funeral service? Who can officiate? Who will give eulogies or readings? Who can sing songs or provide music? It's helpful to think through the elements of your funeral service and who will be part of that program, and reach out to them as soon as you can to confirm if they're available to participate in that way. Besides the people who are participating in the funeral service program, who can help you with some of the behind-the-scenes needs? This could include making a picture slideshow, editing and making a video, or designing and printing the bulletins for the funeral service. If you are planning on gathering in person for the funeral, then there are definitely COVID-19 concerns to consider for the people participating in the program as well as the guests who are coming. Consider the health risk of the individuals who will be part of this service, and also consider any travel restrictions or any requirements such as state-imposed travel quarantines that might limit a person's ability to travel or require more time for them to be able to participate in the funeral. Last but not least, let's talk about time. What is your timeline? What do you need to do right now, and what can be done at a later time? In thinking about what's time sensitive, the most time sensitive item is most likely taking care of the body. But remember that disposition of the body can happen more immediately while planning a memorial service or a celebration of life for a later time. So there's always that option. Values, budget, and people can also influence what you need with regard to time. So if any of those categories feel like they're limited or lacking right now because of COVID-19 restrictions, there's always the option to plan a service or celebration of life later on when you are not as limited by COVID-19 restrictions and when people might be able to gather and travel more freely. To summarize, we looked at 4 categories today to consider as you are planning a funeral: values, budget, people, and time. And as you think through each of these categories and the various questions involved, remember to think about what is important, what is necessary, and what is feasible, especially during COVID-19. We hope this video was helpful for you today, and remember that this is part 1 of a 2-part video series. So be sure to watch part 2, where we talk more about the practicalities of planning a funeral during COVID-19, what are the different options you can explore, and what are the pros and cons of those options. At Here to Honor, we provide resources and services for funeral planning and grief support. You can check out our website at heretohonor.com, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for other helpful videos like this one. Thank you.